on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your Raw 3 count for April 24th. This is my little 3-part ramble on Monday Night Raw. If you guys paid attention last week, I tossed this out last week, got a mixed review. Basically, I'm going to pick 3 things that happened on Raw, 3 things that caught my interest, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit. Now, there's a little bit of confusion. Now, these 3 things that I picked to talk about on Raw, especially this week, are not the top stories of Raw. They're not the most important things going forward. Tonight was the go-home show. It's not necessarily going to be stuff directly leading into the pay-per-view this week. It's not going to be all top-tier stuff. It's just stuff that I find interesting, stuff that I could see becoming something later on down the line. So please don't take these 3-count videos as, hey, these are the 3 best things that happened on Raw, because most of the time they're not going to be. I'm going to pick the little things, there's a little bit of something over here that could be something big later on, and it's not going to be what most people choose to focus on the Raw reviews. I hope that clears it up from last week, because last week I had a couple people saying, like, why would you choose these 3 things? It's like, well, what do you think I should choose? What are the 3 things that you would choose? And it would probably be the 3 biggest things that happened on the show. And I don't want to do that. I want this to be something a little bit different. I want this to be, while I still think Raw is kind of shit, I want to have a little glimmer of hope. I want to have a little glimmer of optimism and see what good could come going forward. Also, as you guys know, a lot of the superstars that I really like moved over to Raw in the Superstar fuck-up. So I kind of had to sway my loyalty to Raw a little bit. So, starting from 3, number 3, and you're gonna laugh a lot. I know, I'm gonna give you a chance to do it preemptively, but number 3 is Kalisto. Now, in the dumpster match that he had with Braun Strowman tonight, nobody is realistically talking about Kalisto unless they've got a chuckle in the back of their voice. But yeah, he got destroyed in the match with Braun Strowman, but it wasn't a 2-second match, which is really, really interesting. Yeah, Braun Strowman played with him. Braun Strowman was toying with him like a lion toying with his dinner. That's a thing. But there's a bunch of stuff that goes into the presentation of Kalisto, who just came over from SmackDown, that's really, really interesting. Now, we said for the longest time after the draft, it made no sense for Kalisto to be on SmackDown. There's nobody there for him to fight realistically. There's not even any other undersized guys. Like, you didn't even have somebody like a Sami Zayn over there at the time. And the Cruiserweight division was on Raw. Now, that was one of the most promising moves that was made in the Superstar Shakeup, was putting Kalisto on Raw. It's a no-brainer. Throw him in the Cruiserweight division. We can have Kalisto versus the new heel TJ Perkins. We can have Kalisto versus any of the masked guys that you want to think about, Lince Dorado, Grand Metalik, etc., that we haven't seen forever and ever and ever. But they've done, as of this week, they've done a repackage on Kalisto, which is really interesting. First of all, he's going in there with Braun fucking Strowman, which means he's not in there surrounded by the purple ropes, as one of the wrestlers encouraged us to sing a couple of weeks ago. He's immediately going after the biggest dog in the fight, which means he's going to go the Rey Mysterio route, which means it could get tedious, because you guys know how I think about Rey Mysterio. But they also re-imaged him a lot. They gave him a backstage segment. I mean, anybody you hear in an interview, be it Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, etc., you might get destroyed, but if they give you time, they see value in you. They had him in a promo last week. They had him in a backstage promo getting up in Kurt Angle's face wanting this match tonight. And they've taken the time creatively to recreate him. Something as simple as the mask is not just a simple luchador mask anymore. It's got, I don't want to say some structure to it, but it's a lot darker. It's a lot more of a serious image than the, happy clappy luchador, lucha dragon that he was before with Sin Cara. It's got a little bit more of a, it does look like a dragon or a gargoyle or something of that like, but it's something on a lot more serious vein, and it gave him a little bit more of a serious look. They also took the time to give him a new entrance. They changed his music all up, and as I say, he lasted more than 2 seconds with Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, who is in, how can I say this? In absence of Brock Lesnar and the Universal Championship, which is another story for another day, Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman is sort of the main event thing happening on Raw right now, and if Kalisto's even touching that, it's not anything we would have expected of him a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago when he was on SmackDown, or when he was, we thought, going to be thrown into the Cruiserweight division. So Kalisto got destroyed tonight, but it also gave us a chance to see that WWE has taken the time to really revamp him, and if he's going to go up against the smaller main card guys, great. If he's going to pick up another title that we're going to talk about in a bit, that could be cool. If they've made him this much of a badass and then they're going to drop him into the Cruiserweight division, I think that could be even better, because this version of Kalisto I could see going up against somebody like an Akira Tozawa, like a Tony Nese, even I could see down the line, like I say, TJ Perkins, Austin Aries, Adrian Neville, etc. Now, do I want the Kalisto to be the champion right away? No, he's already established, and the division itself isn't as established as he is. Let him get in there, let him make a couple of the other guys that we're less familiar with look really, really good, and then let him have his moment in the sun. Like I said, if we had more of the luchadors, if we had the Grand Metaliks, and the Lince Dorados, and Sin Cara, if he wasn't incredibly over the weight limit, you could have sort of a lucha story, you know, do that very, very cliche, typical mask versus mask match, etc. Really, really happy for Kalisto on a night where he absolutely got destroyed and thrown off a stage in a dumpster, Cactus Jack Chainsaw Charlie style. So might be a little bit of a surprising pick, but I got to go with Kalisto for my number 3. Number 2, there are other women on Raw before the shakeup, and here's where I got to give WWE a little bit of credit. Again, before the shakeup on Raw, what was our biggest complaint? Yeah, we like Bayley, we like Charlotte, we like Sasha. They're all great wrestlers. Charlotte's a little boring on the microphone, but that's another story for another day, as I say. But how many times do we see Charlotte versus Sasha versus Bayley versus Charlotte versus Sasha versus Bayley versus Charlotte versus Sasha versus Bayley? Now, we've still got the main 3 that are fighting for the title, and I spoke about them a lot last week. I gave you my idea of how Alexa Bliss should take the title. They should go for the more popular feud, which is Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks. They decided to give that away tonight on Raw instead. And they're going to go with that. What I like tonight is we put a spotlight on what I'm going to call the lower card of the Raw Women's Division, because they have a lower card of the Raw Women's Division. What have I said about SmackDown? What have I said about NXT especially? You watch NXT, you've got the 2 women up there that are fighting for the title right now. Just under them, you got the 2 crazy chicks with Ruby Riott and what the hell's her name? Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross. And then in the low card, you've got the Peyton Royce, the Billie Kay, the Liv Morgan, and the Aaliyah. Now, you've got on Raw, you've got the 3 women that are fighting over the title right now, which is Bayley, which is Alexa Bliss, and which will be Sasha Banks as well. Sort of hovering in the middle, you've got the experienced veteran Mickie James, who can sort of plug and play wherever you need her to go, and Nia Jax, whose value in the company is questionable. On the low end of the spectrum, you've got what we got tonight. Dana Brooke versus Alicia Fox. Alicia Fox, I don't know if any of you watched 205 Live, got out of the stupid love triangle square, you know, Cedric Alexander, Noam Dar, Rich Swann scenario. She told them all to fuck off, basically, on 205 Live. And she's actually, imagine that, women's wrestler, going in there doing some women's wrestling. She's not the greatest. But I like her. I like, you guys know, I like the crazy chicks. I like the Paiges and the AJ Lees and the Litas back in the day. And I like Asuka. I like Nikki Cross. I like Ruby Riott. I like the crazy chicks. Alicia Fox is no different. And she put on a decent match with Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke, who's finally been pulled away from Charlotte, who's on her own as a face. Kind of boring, still establishing herself, but now getting the chance to establish herself. And you've got Emma, who, if there wasn't Alexa Bliss, hot heel Emma is favorite .1A in the mix, and now she's suddenly seeing Dana Brooke starting to succeed. She's buddying up to her. She's gonna hug up to her and try to get her as the heavy, as the backup, as the Diesel to her Shawn Michaels again, and it's just not working. You can see it by the look on her face. But not to say that feud will be the greatest thing in the world. Not to say that the match tonight was the greatest thing in the world either. But it's really nice to see that Raw is taking the lead from SmackDown, from NXT, SmackDown last year, you had a pay-per-view with 3 separate women's matches on it because you had 3 separate women's stories. As I said, on NXT, you've got almost 3 tiers of women in NXT. NXT's got the best women's roster in the company, bar none, but it's really nice to see that we had 2 full stories that take up 6 of the 8 women, and only 2 of them weren't on the show tonight. That shows, for all the shit that I've talked about Raw and all the single-minded, you know, walking around booking the women's division with their blinders on, that they are learning from their mistakes. And of course, Alexa Bliss and Hot Heel Emma being on the same show is just fucking great. And when they go forward, get Bayley out of the way, Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks, let that be the main feud, carry that for a couple of months, and then you move up, and then you have somebody like Bayley feud with somebody like Emma, etc., etc., etc. It's going to be a lot better. So yeah, the bottom of the card women's match was actually the match that gave me a lot of hope for the Raw women's division tonight, and that's a good thing. And then number 1, which is what I'm going to call the battle of the talk show hosts. And yes, it's incredibly corny. Jericho, Miz, Ambrose. I will always pop for that, you know, it's the highlight reel. Oh, sorry, highlight reel got canceled. Now it's Miz TV. Oh, sorry, now it's gotten canceled. Now it's the Ambrose Asylum. Now, they had the whole storyline where it got thrown into a tag match, and Miz tried to find a partner. He didn't have a partner. Everybody on Twitter, I have to say, on a side note, everybody on Twitter was so convinced that it was this guy Mike Bennett, who's with Maria Kanellis. Now, I don't have any problem with Maria Kanellis coming back to WWE. Make no mistake on that one, but I'm sorry, guys. You guys know me. I don't watch ROH. I'm not a robot. I don't watch TNA anymore. I literally can't get it in Canada. So I don't know who Mike Bennett is other than by name. So if he had come out as the surprise partner in this main event tonight, not only would I have not really cared, other than the fact that I had both Maria and Maurice on my television, which would have been great, it would have sort of taken away from what I wanted to do here. This whole talk show shtick, it's a corny gimmick for them to play up, but all 3 of these guys, in their own way, do it really, really well. Here's what I want to see, because everybody's cooling on Ambrose, and Ambrose is doing nothing with the Intercontinental Championship. If what we see tonight goes through, we could have a really interesting story with the Intercontinental Championship. We all know Jericho's going to Payback this Sunday to face Kevin Owens for the United States Championship, which isn't going to happen because Kevin Owens has already taken the United States Championship to SmackDown, where he's redone his Titantron and he's walking on his own face, which is brilliant. Jericho is going to put over Kevin Owens. That's going to put Kevin Owens over, send him into his new home on SmackDown with a bunch of momentum. But now what do you do with Jericho? Unless he's going out with Fozzy, and I'm not on that end of the dirt sheets where it's like, oh, when is Jericho going to go tour again? I'm not. But what you gotta do, you gotta have Ambrose tie up his rivalry with The Miz. Ambrose got to put The Miz over, get the Intercontinental Championship back on The Miz, because the Intercontinental Championship belongs with The Miz as much as Maurice does. Then Ambrose goes into obscurity. Maybe he does some shit with the Shield, Balor Club, all that other bullshit that everybody else on Twitter is talking about. Let Ambrose go do that. Whatever the fuck it is. You have Miz and Jericho in a promo going forward towards a major pay-per-view like SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship. Galvanize with a talent like Jericho, who is there, who lives and breathes in the WWE to make everybody else around him look great. Galvanize The Miz as the Intercontinental Champion. He is one of the best heels you've got in the company. Galvanize him as that champion at SummerSlam and let him be the biggest jackass on the show. Brock Lesnar ain't around. Means you gotta lean on that Intercontinental Championship. So do it. Galvanize The Miz as the Intercontinental Championship. You're not gonna put it on Jericho because eventually he will be going to go do shit with Fozzy. You're not gonna put it on Ambrose because Ambrose has got heat with everybody and da-da-da-da-da, and they don't like that he married Renee Young. Hell, I don't like that he married Renee Young. But that's another story for another day. I hope this leads to Miz getting that Intercontinental Championship back. You saw how he carried it on SmackDown. He had one of the best feuds of the year last year with Dolph Ziggler over that title. He could do it with any number of people. And what we saw tonight with Bray Wyatt, which was a very odd choice, you could have The Miz versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship for all I care. Because, no, we're not getting Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar, unless you want Finn Balor broken in half. Let's be real. So, a lot of new creative opportunities for the Intercontinental Championship. Kalisto, of all people, got a hell of a reboot tonight, and I've got hope for the Raw Women's Division, which is something I haven't been able to say for a long time. This has been the 3 count. I've gone over my 10-minute time limit by about 4 minutes already, so I'm going to get the hell out of here. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.
Freak like me.